SBN, Sports Business Now. SBN is a division of Row 27, the digital sports marketing company, celebrating 5 years of creating TV spots, intro videos, and microsites for over 150 teams. See our work at row27.com. And by FanMaker, digital marketing tools for sports teams, featuring FanMaker Rewards, the most comprehensive and popular fan loyalty and reward system. Learn more about our apps at fanmaker.com. SBN Live.
Hey, sports fans, welcome to SBN Live, episode 33, where sports marketing and technology meet. My name is Max Huber, joined today by Row 27 account executive Tim Dobbins and the founder of the Sports Business Exchange, Josh DeBoff. Sorry, I'm slipping over my tongue here. Tim, how are things going today?
Going really well, thanks.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Josh, how's things in the TV land?
Also going well on this end as well.
Perfect. That's good to hear. We'll hear from Josh in a little bit here. We're kind of just going to hop into some topics. We've got some great stuff for you today. The first one has to do with the new 49ers stadium, and they're going to give live updates on bathroom lines, beer lines, things of that nature. So it's going to be an app that people will have on their phone that'll work, for, like I said, for food and bathroom lines. You're able to also get play replays, your choice of angle on those. Stadium Wi-Fi lets you stream the NFL Red Zone from your seat. The next order of business, like I said, is getting the beer delivered to your seat so you don't even have to get up. Levi Stadium, it's going to be cool. People from their phone can do just a ton of different things. They're in Silicon Valley pretty much. It makes sense for them to really go above and beyond on the high-tech spectrum. So, Josh, what are your first thoughts just on this? I know it's a few years away with the new stadium, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it definitely is pretty cool. I think this is what you expect from the 49ers, like you expect just because of their vicinity and everything that's going on around them. Will these even be needed by then, or will they have already come up with something else? I don't know, but it seems cool. It's a fun thing. I don't know how much different it is than having televisions on top of the concourse as you walk around, which a lot of stadiums have now anyway. But it's definitely something interesting, and if they think it's worthwhile, then we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, like you mentioned, there's just so many different changes that people are able to do already. You see some of the texting from your seat, but this just provides that app. It provides the real-time data, I think, is what's really cool. It'll be interesting to see if there's any glitches in it along the way. Tim, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really cool, especially for people to kind of not have to waste any time hanging out outside of bathrooms and waiting, hanging out outside of concessions, waiting for their beer. Hopefully they'll have kind of a section in there where you can input actually what section you're sitting in within the stadium. So it doesn't give you like, hey, the shortest bathroom line is, 2,000 feet away on the other end of the concourse. Just to make it more efficient, that would be nice. Getting beer delivered to your seat obviously is a great perk for everyone, not only season ticket holders. I don't think you'll be able to get the bathroom delivered to your seat. That would be nice, maybe in the future. But yeah, like you said, Silicon Valley is a great place to kind of debut new technologies like this.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. It'll be also interesting to see how many stadiums kind of after this goes live will retrofit. The Vikings getting a new stadium, the Falcons, is this going to be in line for them? It's technology. People are so buried in their phones nowadays. We'll just see if this is the next thing to take off. Don't have a real good transition, but I'm going to throw it over to you, Tim, with Major League Soccer.
All right. So yesterday, MLS Commissioner Don Garber announced the league's intention to add 4 additional teams, 5 if you include New York City FC, by 2020, which would bring the MLS total to 24. Seems like a really bold direction to take for the league. Do you guys think that this is possible within or feasible within the time frame? Will the talent pool dilute too much and decrease interest? And most importantly, Max, do you think this means Minneapolis is a shoe-in for a team?
I'd love to see Minneapolis get a team, being a soccer fan, also living here. I know that they're on the list of teams, and I know that Ziggy Wolf wants to bring one in with the new addition of the new Viking Stadium. I don't want them to get over their head. I like the MLS, but with this, if they go to 24 teams, they're going to be the largest premier league in the entire world, having 24 teams in the major division. But with teams, like Orlando City already has a following. David Beckham wants to bring a team to Miami, which we've talked about. I hope it goes well. I just hope that they don't jump in too fast. I mean, we've already seen teams that have moved or even folded. So I hope it works out well, and I know that obviously they're doing a lot of research, and they've really made some strides in the last few years based on fan base marketing and everything of that nature. So we'll see how it goes. Josh, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen some advertising here in New York for New York FC, and there's been a lot of discussions about where that stadium is actually going to be built here in New York and how they're going to compete with the Red Bull, who are in New Jersey. So that's already in the plans. This is on top of that. That team has already been announced. But I look at some of the newer teams that are out there, especially in the Northwest, that have been so successful. I think some of those teams are much more successful than the initial inaugural teams now many years ago. But if they can find the right niche audiences for these teams, it's not necessarily all the biggest cities. Seattle and Portland both have really great followings. And, maybe it's not Massachusetts, for example. I mean, they already have a team in New England, but, it's probably some of these smaller markets that don't have 3 or 4 pro teams already that are urging for a team. And I like some of the ideas that they have for where to put the expansion teams. So will it dilute what's already on the field? Probably initially, but, as there's more of a professional place for players to go, that's hopefully going to bring up the quality of the athletes coming behind them as well. And more people are going to want to continue with soccer into high school and into college. So we know it's so big already in the youth movement. So if people can see in some of these other cities that there is a professional league down the road, especially in their own country, in these other cities, I only think it helps the game grow overall.
Yeah, Josh, I think what you spoke about earlier, especially the list of the last 5 expansion teams here is Seattle, Toronto, Portland, Vancouver, and Montreal. A lot of those aren't considered kind of primary cities, in television markets, but the fan bases there have been really great. So MLS is obviously putting a lot of research into that city selection, making the chances of success be as high as they possibly can.
One of the things I find interesting is New York City. The New York City area is going to have 3 professional soccer teams now because they're getting the Cosmos back in the North American Soccer League. Then they're going to have Red Bull. They're going to have New York City FC. Josh, being a guy from that area, is that too many soccer teams? I know one of them is going to be a division down, but is that too many for one major metropolitan area?
Yeah, I think that's a big question that a lot of people are asking here. Is that too many? Obviously, the funding is there for the teams. The new team, New York FC, has huge backing from Manchester City and from the Yankees. So I don't think from a funding perspective it's going to be an issue. It'll be from an interest issue. And honestly, I think the Red Bull want to call themselves New York, and they are just a train ride away from Manhattan. But it's actually really difficult to get to that stadium in Harrison, New Jersey, if you're a New York fan. So unless you're really coming from Manhattan specifically, if you're coming from any of the other boroughs, it's a really hard stadium to get to, and it's a pretty long trek. So I think I don't have the demographics information, but just from talking to other people, my understanding is that the Red Bull really pull more from New Jersey than they do from New York, even if their original intent was to be from New York. They used to see that when they were the Metro Stars, they were the New York/New Jersey Metro Stars, and that never really totally made sense. I think there's enough of an interest, at least in the 2 MLS teams, to have another team either in Queens or in the Bronx, where fans don't have to travel as far to go to a game. I mean, if you live in Queens and you travel all the way across Manhattan just to get to New Jersey to go to a soccer game, you're traveling further than the actual soccer game takes to put on. So I definitely think that there's enough of an interest for those 2 teams. I don't really know where the Cosmos fit into that, but that's my opinion on the 2 MLS teams.
It's always been interesting to me that we could have a whole topic on this with the whole New Jersey, New York thing, teams that are New York teams, but they play in New Jersey. But, to me, it doesn't make sense. Speaking of other things that don't make sense, Facebook. It's just they're getting crazy nowadays, and they said that they plan to sell TV-style ads for $2.5 million each. So these commercials for its sites, like I said, $2.5 million a day. They would follow efforts by Facebook's online rivals to capture ad dollars that have traditionally gone to TV networks. They have set some restrictions on it, so they'll be sold on a full-day basis, and they can only be targeted to users based on age and gender, according to the people behind it. And Facebook members won't see a commercial more than 3 times in a given day. It's just interesting, from a sports perspective, how many teams might take advantage of this. Olympics, some major events of that nature, just because it is based on age and gender and probably won't be able to be broken down by location. But we're trying to merge sports and technology here. So, Tim, what are your thoughts on how this could benefit some sports teams, or just in general how this might affect the market?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the sports teams, that's a pretty that's a premium cost to pay for advertising. So it's possible that the only kind of properties that are going to be willing to actually go into that space are going to be the Super Bowl, Olympics, anything like that, that are kind of properties that have that revenue, have that funding behind them. It'll be interesting to see kind of how they actually debut those ads, whether they, will be kind of overlays on the page that you won't be able to X out of after 5 seconds or after the full 15 seconds, or if you'll still be able to kind of vertically scroll down the Facebook page to be able to see other things while the ad is playing. Based on the cost of them, it's incredible. I mean, I looked it up. Sunday Night Football last year averaged $545,000 per 30-second ad, and that was the highest cost for any primetime television show during that period of time. And if this was 3 15-second repetitions of the same exact ad delivering the same message at 1 to 2.5 million, that cost is significantly higher than even Sunday Night Football or American Idol. So that just kind of indicates what kind of confidence they have in its reach and its effectiveness.
Yeah, I can't imagine the commission check on something like that. But maybe Zuckerberg's throwing too many parties, so he needs to sell some ads. Josh, what are your thoughts on this overall?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Tim. These are Super Bowl type numbers that they're throwing around for not very special advertisements on Facebook. Sorry, Mark, if you're watching this, I just called it not special.
He comes in every week to watch. Look,
I mean, one of the biggest struggles for ad agencies working in television is how to understand digital. And obviously that as time goes by, they understand it more and more. But when it really, at the end of the day, when they're going back to their brands, they want the easiest format possible to explain to them what they're doing. So for television, it becomes really easy to explain television. It's ratings and demographics. So it's 30-second spots, it's 15-second spots, sometimes 45, sometimes 60. But it's all very much just here's where it ran, here's how much it cost, and here's the rating that we got. And that's something that's been difficult for digital to do, is to really guarantee what those numbers are and exactly put it in the same format that agencies and brands have already been familiar with in terms of television. Facebook working with Nielsen, who does the ratings for television, will certainly help in terms of making that understanding easier for the agencies and then in turn to the brands. So I think you will see some agencies who will go out there and put their brands behind this type of advertising because it's something new, but it's also easy to explain to their brands that they're representing. Again, who can afford to really buy this? It is going to be your larger brands that you see in the Super Bowl, your car companies, your banks, your financial companies. Will there be some advertising around sporting events within those ads? Absolutely, and probably driving to their own websites and to their own hubs. But I don't think you'll see anytime soon any kind of promotion for, like you won't see an NBC promoting their upcoming MLS broadcast on Facebook, or even a football team promoting their game to buy tickets or something like that. I think the cost of that. But in terms of real brands and real agencies, a lot of them based out of here in New York, and now so is Facebook, so the interactions are easy between the two of them to make these meetings work. I think you'll see some agencies take a chance on it, if for no other reason than Facebook is still a hot thing, brands love it, and it's something new that they can easily explain to their brands.
Yeah, if you could break it down regionally, it makes sense for some of these teams, but based on the fact that you can just do it by age, you're going to have a lot of money, and you're going to have to want to attract people from all over the United States to it. And speaking of attracting people to an event, the 2014 Pro Bowl is going to feature a new format. They're going to have a radical change for the beleaguered All-Star game, eliminating the traditional AFC versus NFC matchup in favor of a fantasy draft-like roster selection, similar to what the NHL does now. Obviously, I think that this is it's something for the Pro Bowl. It's lost a lot of its luster nowadays. You see people that aren't putting forth full effort, but they're getting names like Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders involved as alumni captains. So at least they're trying to do something to really spruce up the game. Josh, what are your thoughts on the overhaul here to the Pro Bowl?
I'm gonna plead the fifth primarily right now and wait to see how it actually turns out. I grew up a big NHL fan, and I didn't love the switch that they made to world, North America versus world, and all these different things that they tried to make the All-Star game better for the NHL. As a fan of particular teams, I just end up rooting for that conference to do well. So, if you're a 49ers fan, you're going to root for the NFC, and now you don't have that option. You could have players on the 49ers be on both sides, and then that's difficult to do from a fan experience as to who do you actually root for. I don't know if it'll make the game any better to watch either. The changes that they're actually making to the game seems to help with the flow of the game and the timing and how quickly the plays will happen, but I don't know if it's any incentive really for the players to try harder. They're implementing new 2-minute segments at the end of each quarter, so the ball will change hands at the end of each quarter, so that means there'll be a 2-minute rotation at the end of each quarter, where the idea is that the teams will hurry up so that they can score by the end of the quarter. But whether they score or not, the outcome of the game is still the same. So I don't know if that's going to help or not. I hope that it does, and I hope the players try a little bit harder. But football's still a very tough game to play, and that's certainly not the game you want to get injured in. And ruin your career in an exhibition. So I don't know if it's going to help, but I'll watch and see if it makes any difference.
You talked about the players trying harder. I will probably not be trying harder to watch the game. I haven't watched it in years. I love football. It's just once the playoffs kind of hit, I'm set on Super Bowl. I'm not set on the Pro Bowl at all. So Tim, thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's something that if people, see on the television while they're watching, flipping through channels and watching something else, maybe they'll stop on it for a while. The last interesting thing I ever saw in the Pro Bowl was Sean Taylor's hit on that punter about 5 years ago, maybe longer. And since then, there's basically been kind of no interesting developments. So I think, as far as a development, this is a recognition by the NFL that the on-field product is substandard for their brand. And they knew that something needed to be changed. So it seems like this is kind of an effort to actually make the pregame buzz be the story rather than the game being the story. So I think that's a unique, interesting direction that they've chosen to go. And hopefully that will kind of, make people be interested in the Pro Bowl in general, whether it's, even though it's going to be pregame more than actual game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. But like I said, I'm glad that they're taking steps to really kind of revitalize it. We'll see if it works. So we start with San Francisco. Now we're going to end with San Francisco. Tim, you've got another story on us from the Golden Gate City.
I do. So I don't have it up on my computer screen, so I'm going to have to wing this one. But basically, the San Francisco Giants are going to debut a 3,000 square foot garden in kind of the center field bleacher area. They currently grow sod there to replace any sod that needs to be replaced in the outfield or in the infield. But starting next year, it's going to be that garden, and it's going to grow a lot of kind of organic produce, whether that's lettuce, huckleberries. I think they're going to grow maybe schnozberries. I don't know. And that food will eventually then be used in the concession stands within the park there. Thoughts on that?
I'm going to throw it over first to Josh. I mean, it's a pretty cool organic effort here by the San Francisco Giants. What do you think about it?
Yeah, the push for local vegetables and local gardens is very big right now. I assume kind of all over the country. I know they are here in New York. So I like it. It's interesting to see how they'll really use it once it's fully grown and what the vegetables will be used for. A little hesitant to say that the prices for everything won't go up very quickly in that stadium when they can use their own vegetables and claim that it's organic and all this other stuff. But besides that, I certainly like it. It says it's also be used for restaurants in the stadium as well as for classrooms, and so kids will be able to participate during the school year. And anything that keeps us a little bit healthier and really tying it to the brand, I think is good. It certainly won't change whether the Giants win or lose games on the field, but it does bring the Giants into the community a little bit more. I know Max, previously on other shows that I've been on, we've talked about the New York Giants being out in the community a little bit more with the health and fitness segment. So I think this does the same thing for the San Francisco Giants, and I like it. See how it goes.
Yeah, it's a goodwill effort by them to do some great things. Put some healthy organic food on people's plates at the game. When I was at the St. Paul Saints, we tried it. It's just the interns were really terrible at watering. So it didn't last as long as we would have liked. But some great topics today. I want to thank Josh and Tim for joining me. Make sure to check out Josh's website, thesportsbusinessexchange.com. Also on Twitter at TSBX. And at Joshua Duboff, Duboff. Check him out on there. He puts some great stuff out there. I want to thank you all for watching. Check us out on Twitter at SBN Now, online at sportsbusinessnow.com, and tune in next Thursday, 4 p.m. with an all-new edition of SBN Live.
SBN, Sports Business Now.